All this while more people are supporting ISIS right here in America. For more on this, we go to retired Navy Lieutenant Jason Beardsley, joining me now from Columbus, Ohio. Lieutenant, great to see you. I look at the economy today because this is a business show. It's a business network. You see what's going on in the job market. People are struggling. You have wages that are not growing. You have people who are working in temporary jobs, working in part-time jobs. Is this a ripe environment for terror recruiting?
Dagan, that's a great question. Thank you for having me on. First of all, yes, if we look at the cause of America, virtue, freedom, posterity, that commerce that you're talking about is a huge part of what the cause of America is. And right now we're kind of sitting back watching as we've given up ground to say these are the greatness. This is the greatness of America. This is what we ought to celebrate. We're going into Independence Day weekend. Instead of celebrating it, we have too many leaders and too many people that are hand-wringing and apologizing for that greatness. We need to get back into the leadership role and encourage a posterity that comes from commerce and express the ideals of Americanism, American exceptionalism.
Do you think that in terms of leading, do you feel comfortable based on what you know with the kind of law enforcement that we've seen and the kind of intelligence work that we've seen in locating these people who are trying to join ISIS and the multiple arrests that we've seen in recent months even?
Well, I have an utmost confidence in our military, our law enforcement community, our intelligence community. But make no mistake, it is difficult to get in front of behavior. We cannot predict ahead of time, the way people are going to act. Social science, behavioral sciences have been trying to do that for hundreds of years. We work best when law enforcement and military, we do swift justice and we do it with a moral clarity. Once we have that swift justice, it sets up a tone. We set the conditions for success by the American military, by American law enforcement.
But in terms of privacy, it's a balancing act. Again, change the surveillance that the NSA was doing. A lot of discussion about privacy rights on social media, trumping the kind of investigative work that's turning up these people trying to be recruit for ISIS. Where do you fall on that? Would you freely give up some of your privacy to ensure a safer U.S.?
I think it's always dangerous when we trade our privacy and our liberties for security. In other words, the government, in order to, or the law enforcement community, to have swift justice with a moral clarity does not necessarily mean we ought to be piercing the veil or penetrating the veil of privacy and security. Our citizens have rights. They were encoded in our documents, the Bill of Rights. So what we ought to be doing, instead of penetrating that veil of secrecy, that privacy that we offer our citizens, we ought to be using swift justice, again, with moral clarity. Every time we meet the enemy, we have to make a decision. Do we want to defeat the enemy, or do we want to give them more reason to grow?
Lieutenant, thank you so much for being here. Formerly retired Navy Lieutenant Jason Beardsley. Take care of yourself. Happy 4th.
Oh, thank you, Dagan, and you have a great Independence Day this weekend.
I will. Thank you again. Coming up, Whole Foods.